plugged in over here.
Got the notification. Oh, it was plugged into charge?
Mm-hmm.
Alright. Turn that off before it gets feedback. What's it say?
An error occurred. Let's try again later.
Just hit escape and refresh the page.
Should do it. Where does this go? This little cabinet here?
I didn't know that was a thing. John must have bought it for them to charge. Just make sure to turn that back on.
Okay. Thanks.
Yep. I guess
So
that's kind
until
of
they fix that bug, we're gonna have to start it from
launch
terminal.
with your terminal.
All right.
And I'll do it for you each time. You can do it and get used to it if you want.
Is it just a type in a command line or paste in that line?
Yeah, you have to paste in that line. I don't know if you'll have to reassign permissions every time because terminal's weird.
Hmm.
But we'll find out tomorrow morning.
Okay.
That's what you get with free open source software.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Are you guys working on the Christmas video?
We have not started yet. We talked about it and
3 weeks.
yeah. Yeah, there was
Do you use this? OBS?
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, for some things. Other stuff I just use a phone camera.
Mm-hmm.
But it was kind of up in the air because John Anderson said he'd do it. But also was like, if you want somebody else to do it, though, that's perfectly fine. Kind of got the impression that he wasn't terribly into it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But Rebecca was talking about maybe doing something different, like getting a comedian or something, but
Oh.
not sure.
Okay. Well, you gotta figure something out
Yeah.
pretty quick.
Scheduled to do it.
I'm gonna need a nap.
Yeah, unplugging that, replugging it in.
Get a snap back.
It already did. Yeah, that's gonna make that freak out. so it's right there where I clicked end stream
Mhm.
and it froze. Okay, we're back.
All right.
Boom, still working?
Boom. I couldn't find it this morning. Closed it down after I restarted. I couldn't find it. I don't find it in
I guess-
applications.
Have you ever used it since you upgraded to Catalina?
I used it last night. I downloaded it and I've paid for it. It wanted me to
Right.
pay for it again, so I just downloaded the free trial and used it all night. And it was still open this morning. I closed it, restarted, and now it's gone.
That's weird.
Yeah.
Just stop upgrading software forever.
Yeah. Right.
What we've got now, stick with it.
Right. All right. What time is it? you?
I just sent you like 2 sentences. If you have time or want to stick them in the PowerPoint. but
Okay,
it's fine.
great.
Got a little, well, I don't necessarily say distracted's the right word, but working on the that proposal I sent you
Mm-hmm.
yesterday morning.
Mhm.
So I got up early yesterday morning, sitting in the kitchen having my coffee, and all of a sudden everything I've been reading and thinking about over the weekend kind of clicked
Perfect.
at 5:30 in the morning.
Right. Are you generally an early bird?
Yes, I typically get up between 4 and 4:30
Really? Wow.
every day. Well, 6 days a week. I try to sleep in on Sunday, but get up, check Facebook and Inman News and CNBC, work out, do my quiet time,
Mm-hmm.
get dressed, and then whatever time I have left, I start looking through emails and stuff, and then get the kids up and get them out the door.
Man. Yeah, I was up extra early today. One of our foster kids who goes to Linville Edom is going to Jamestown, so she had to be up there at 6:30. So yeah, I got up at 4:45, which is not typical.
See again. I guess you sort of, I can put it in there or I'll say it, but look out for email sign up coming out today.
Okay.
That's what I'll do right after this meeting. And I'm actually wondering, do you think 3 sessions is too much?
I don't know that you need that third one.
Let's take that one out.
Yeah.
Um,
And that's a lot of time. every
Yeah.
week.
I got to thinking about it, and what I might do is do the same thing again. But just like a kind of 1 day intensive
Mm-hmm.
somewhere. Just be like, you missed it.
That's funny. Some people prefer that, and some people just can't
Yeah.
drill down for that long.
Right.
You know, it's just an hour's enough.
Well, and I think with the format, because the idea is that there's going to be like just a few minutes of kind of instruction of like, here's what we're trying to achieve and why.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's going to be, okay, let's start working on it together. Like, bring your laptops. Like,
Right.
we're going to work together. And the whole point of working together is to be some discussion. Like, if you're looking through your expenses, you can like, okay, well, how do I categorize this? Like, we'll talk about it. You know? And so creates that interaction.
Oh, is she
Mhm.
really?
Shoot. Are you on the Climb May announcements page?
Facebook page?
Yeah.
Yes.
The FAQ change anything just from the discussion that came out of that page a few days ago.
I just got on it yesterday.
Oh yeah? Okay. It's good. I mean, it began as a place for non-business communication,
Mm-hmm.
because folks were clogging up email with yard sales and prayer requests and
Yeah.
all kinds of personal stuff. But what's happened, and people use it for that, but they also use it for real estate stuff as well.
Yeah, I've seen some, like Zach's question about with birth on.
Hey, Angela. She's been fighting cancer for the last 2 years.
I'm cleaning the desk.
Okay, I thought you were maybe just needing a little extra jump start today.
No, I only had 2 cups. I'm behind.
Greg, how you doing this morning?
I got a lot of work to do today, so it's actually a good day.
Yeah.
You know, waking up. I was up 3-4 times later. Just getting old and all beat up. It's rough. But I'm only hurting in a couple spots today, so I'm not too bad.
Okay, that's good.
I'm doing pretty good. It's amazing how you start to gauge life by what hurts and where.
Right?
Oh my goodness. But how about you?
I'm good.
All ready for the holidays?
No.
I think Esther's doing some shopping today. I'm ready.
I read an article yesterday or this weekend, but it was talking about getting, with kids, like getting out of the routine of just getting a bunch of stuff. And what the parents did was they give 4 gifts. One thing that they want, one thing that they need, one thing to wear, and I'm trying to forget what the fourth one was. Because it's basically like, or maybe I think it's one thing to do or something.
Right,
so
right.
something kind of active. But each kid gets 4 gifts, but then they also get 4 gifts from like the grandparents. They got the grandparents do the same thing.
I'll be honest with you though, we would give Sarah basically sort of like the Sears catalog, What do you want? The
Right.
kid would only pick 3 or 4 things.
My estimated
You know,
thing
where my
is about
nephew,
60 days
he
to
circles
get
the whole
rehab
book.
done and get the
So
contract,
it's
get
like,
what
he
just writes his name on the
final
cover and hands
numbers
it
Yeah,
back,
pretty much,
raised
right?
it.
But Sarah never was
This
looking
caused a problem. and
for
this caused
material
a problem,
things, which
and
is
this caused a
you
problem.
know, as
Mhm.
long as mom and
Things
dad's
like-
okay, she's
I just wanna
okay.
have it up there so it doesn't mess.
When the kids get a little bit older, I
Is that
want to
right?
do what
Sure.
a friend of mine had. Her and her husband, I guess her youngest is probably.
Jenny's behind here. If any of these
But
colors not
They
going
gave
well.
each of their kids a new like carry-on travel suitcase.
Uh-huh.
As long as it
And
says right
basically
on
their
white
Christmas
cloth,
gift
expedited,
was
it should come up
a
fine.
note, and it's like
Yeah.
you can pick to go on a vacation, a weekend getaway with mom or dad. You pick, the kid gets to pick, but you get to go on a trip with mom or dad anywhere in the world you want to go.
Oh, anywhere in
But
the
you, but you only have a weekend, so that obviously cuts down on a lot of places because no point in spending 24 hours on a plane.
Right. Well, when I first started here, I was telling Anne Marie I was taking Esther to Canada. From Canada, we were going to London. London, we were going to Paris. So Esther comes in, and Anne Marie goes, "My God, that's a trip of a lifetime." She goes, "Take me to Epcot." They ain't going anywhere. And I mean, there were countries around there. That's what it was. But yeah, that's all we do as a family. Really, is just go there. Like some folks are into the beach. I couldn't sit there and do nothing. It would drive me crazy.
Amen.
I just could not. After the 13th wave of me counting, I'd be like, all right, what am I going to do now?
Right.
Yeah.
I bring my bike. Jenny
Yeah,
sits on the beach, and I go.
You
find
know what?
something fun to do.
I might. If
Yeah.
that was the case, I might have taken up biking
Yeah.
because it was the only thing to do, right? Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I am not a beach person.
But is your wife?
Kinda, but I'm starting to convert her.
Okay, good.
I love the lake, but I
Me
just.
too. Me too.
The mountains, you know, the hiking,
Right.
the camping, I'm
Fresh
into
water.
all of that. 'Cause well, you're also busy. You know, if you're camping, you're chopping wood, you're going hiking, you're
Right.
doing this, you're doing that.
You can find shade.
You go to you go to the beach, you just sit there.
Just sit there and
I
sweat.
hate the sand.
Mhm.
Then salt water makes you feel all sticky and it gets in your mouth, and you
Mhm.
worry about the kids being pulled out by undertow.
Disappearing, yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, I went to,
It's Darwinism,
I
isn't
didn't
it?
like the beach either, but I used to go to Bald Head
Yeah.
Island.
Oh, there's been some horrible
Bald Head Island is a
accidents
really
and
great
everything.
place because, first of all,
Where's
Remember
that?
when
it's off
the
the, it's
deputy
off,
sheriff from Rockingham
right off the
Lake
coast
died?
between North and South
From
Carolina.
the sun's
Okay.
getting pulled out.
And you have to take a ferry there, and
Those riptides,
you don't have any car. You rent the house and they have golf carts. And there's not a lot of
You got
this,
some perpendicular,
like
but when you're
Myrtle
panicked,
Beach or Virginia
Right,
Beach,
right, right.
with all the lights,
disoriented, upside
it's,
down
you know,
underwater,
more,
who knows?
it's more sedate,
I almost got it.
but depends on where you go
Thanks,
around the
Lord.
island. The
Because I
beach
had
is
no
all
fear, I got the
different.
river yesterday.
At
Mm.
one point, there,
Shocking.
there's,
Alright, there was
when
one
the,
other
when
thing.
the,
What was it? Alright, so.
tide goes out, you can walk almost a
that was
mile
deal.
out
Oh, that's pretty cool.
and then come
That
back in.
was the thing.
There is a area in the island that's jungle, and they have trails through, so you can walk like you're in the jungle. It's not even like you're at the beach. And then there's kind of an inner swamp in the island where you can take a kayak and tons of stuff to do. For the kids, my kids loved it. You know, when we first told them we were going there,
So we get that off there when it's time
there's
to-
nothing on
That's
this
what I'm just
island.
looking for, I guess I just
Plenty
turned it
of
off.
They used to go down the golf course, and there's creeks that run through the golf, there's a golf course.
Some kind of blackout.
And there are alligators in the creek, and the kids would go watch the alligators. I mean, there was an alligator watching place.
Yeah. When I was a kid, we used to go, we went to the beach, the Jersey Shore, Rye Beach, Coney Island, all that crap, all that. But, I dug going to Lake George, New York, and there's islands, and you can rent a campsite on an island. And you take a boat out there, and then you're jumping off the rocks into the water, then you take the boat back into town for dinners or amenities and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was pretty neat.
So we're gonna call off this meeting for lack of attendance.
Don't have a quorum.
Where is it?
Our bus route. There were only 2 kids in the bus yesterday.
Seriously,
That's Linda Leadham.
Mm.
Kids are.
how many is there normal? 3?
Oh, Taz, do you know Taz Brown? Well, she's coming to town, she's gonna close on our lot on Tuesday. And there's a huge storm out there.
Yeah.
And she saw it coming and she left a day ahead of time. If she'd have waited to come when she was gonna come today, she wouldn't have made it. All the
Wow.
airports are closed.
Mhm.
Yeah, I heard that on the news and then I got an email from her. She's in town, so.
Yeah, they're
And it's coming this way.
Yeah, but it won't be snow.
Have you guys been skiing?
Crazy.
Yeah?
Yeah, last Friday afternoon, I got to ski. Didn't get to go up Saturday.
Ski Saturday instead of Friday.
It's cold enough, or
It was then, but it's not going to be below freezing all week this week.
so it'll
I
be
don't,
melting what they made?
I don't think they'll be able to open on Saturday
Pretty much,
again.
yeah. Some of it's pretty deep, it may hold, because it gets real cool at night, and maybe not. But I skied twice, I skied, I taught 4 lessons on Sunday. The new lessons format's really great, because it's, it's 2 hours,
Right.
that's fun,
Yeah.
it's different.
Is there a split anywhere? If you have.
Well, what they're gonna do is after the first hour, if you have a group and you feel that some people ready to go up or even advance a little more,
Mm-hmm.
what they're gonna put a flag at the bottom of the hill.
Okay.
So you don't have to stop, you don't have to send your people up, you know how we did it before?
Right.
And split them up, you know, you just stay with your group, and if you have, one or two people that are more advanced, you send them to the flag, or you could go with the advanced,
Mhm.
and another instructor will be down there to take over your group to continue.
Oh, okay.
And we did that, with my second group. I had three kids, from Florida, and, the brother and sister, they were 9, 12, and 13 or something like that. They were terrific, but one girl was lagging just a little bit. So I took 2 of them off and left the one little girl with Wayne,
Mhm.
and by the time it was all said and done, they were all skiing up on 4.
Hmm.
Doing really well.
Yeah.
3 great athletes, yeah. Their father was African American and the mother was Russian woman.
Hmm.
And they
Good
were
gene
really
pool.
pleased to see their kids
Mhm.
do so well.
That's great. I guess there's some big free breakfast going on somewhere. No, you'd know about that. Well, we'll go ahead and get started. Let's see if our colleagues join us or if everybody's sleeping in. I think the official announcement or invitation is going to go out on Monday, but save the date for December 19th, the evening of December 19th. Will be our company Christmas party, same place as last year, Valley Pike Farm Market, same caterer. Rebecca's got an unbelievable menu lined up. Same entertainment. Mike Hamburger will be running sound for us. So it should be a lot of fun. Kids are welcome. There should be tons of kids there. There will be kids' food on the menu. I mentioned last week our lunch and learn that's coming up this Thursday with Triad Engineering. Should be really interesting. Environmental issues that we might or might not be thinking about with our listings. I got my first. The Habitat project uses I forget the name of it, but a piece of software that coordinates all the scheduling, and people get emails when they need to be involved in something. And I got my first one a couple days ago. They have, I guess that means they've gotten their permits in order. So the first work group where they'll be looking for volunteers from us is the weekend between Christmas and New Year's. And we will be putting gravel in the crawl space. So if anybody wants to shovel some gravel over the holidays, I'm gonna send an email out to anybody who had signed up to volunteer, and we'll see if we can put together 4 or 5 people. Greg, you're gonna be leading that crew.
Yeah, I could do that. I'm quite a shoveler too.
Yeah, that's not, usually don't be shoveling the gravel.
So I mentioned last week our business planning work group idea. We've got, it's the time of year to be thinking about next year. And so Paul has offered to lead that work group. It's not going to be a class. It's going to be a working thing where you come in and everybody will kind of help each other think about their business for next year, income, expenses, get a handle on your numbers, and do some planning for next year. The meetings will be right after our team meeting, so Tuesdays here in Harrisonburg, Wednesdays in Augusta. And if you, we'll have an email sign up coming out today. Correct. Anything you want to add to that?
Really just the biggest thing, so with business planning, it's not just finances and budget, it really is trying to look at overall what people's goals are, so the end result's not gonna be just a form of how many transactions do you need to try and do, it's actually gonna be looking at the numbers, but also how do you get to that ultimate goal, which is not just financial, whether new agent or retiring or somewhere in between, like, you know, the whole course is kind of designed to help everybody with whatever those goals are, so.
So I sent out an email yesterday with our new compensation plan. 3 major changes that I just wanted to review. So this first one, I love this idea. It came from an agent, Derek Flory in Augusta. And so starting next year, agents who have a broker's license will get an immediate 3% bump in their split, and agents who hold a GRI designation will get a 2% bump in their split. This can be part of your business planning for next year. If you hold those already, you'll get it automatically starting the first of the year. I've already had one agent email me last night saying, I just signed up for my first GRI class. Funny how money motivates me. So that's the hope. I think it'd be really cool if people want to do this in kind of small groups based on whose schedule fits with what. It's always easier to go through a longish kind of class like that with some support. So I think that'll be a really good addition, motivation to get that additional education, which will help us all.
Can I add something?
Yeah.
Just a reminder that HRAR, the education committee, their goal is to provide all the GRI classes locally within a 5-year period, which is the time frame to complete it. So somebody can, if they want to take 5 years to do it, they can do it all here
Right.
locally too.
Right. 10 classes?
It's
Total
10. There's
accommodations?
8 that you have to attend and 2 online.
Okay. So the second new thing is, What?
So if your split is 50-50, you get 52 now?
if you have a GRI, right?
Does that have to be renewed every year?
Your GRI,
It's not,
what do you
it's
do to stay current? Just pay?
just your continuing. You don't,
Okay, just your regular CD.
I'm
there is
paid.
no payment on.
There's not an annual payment to
No.
use the logo like some of those others?
Not that I'm familiar with,
I'm
not that
paid.
we were ever.
Okay,
I mean, I've
Fine
had,
now.
let's see,
So, yeah,
for
just-
14 years.
just get it.
I've made my payments.
Just
Yeah,
get it.
I did it almost right at the very beginning.
Yeah, that's about the one I did.
How can we check?
I don't know.
Depot, right?
No, it's a
No.
real
The
thing,
NAR.
not a
So
legal thing.
you should be able to go on the NAR and
Or
see what
you could
designation.
call or email Jennifer at the HRAR office. I bet she can check for you.
So once you
'Cause it's all
get it,
through
you
the
have
Realtor
it,
Association.
your renewal dues doesn't change, your CE may have a couple different paragraphs in it for GRI or?
No, GRI is through the Realtor Association. It has nothing to do with state continuing ed requirements.
Graduate Realtor Institute.
Right. So, yeah, sounds like once you've
Although it
earned
does
it, you've
count
earned
for
it.
CE. Of course it is.
Some of them count for CE.
That courses, it was.
And then the broker's class, the broker's license is 4 courses. There's one on brokerage management, which is kind of running the company or how the company works, and then you can choose 3 from about 6 others. And they're excellent. They're really, really good.
Is that extra fees and all that kind of stuff?
You
too?
do have to pay for those classes, yeah.
Do they offer them in our area, or are they
In
online?
person, not that I'm aware of. You can do them online. I just ordered the books when I did it several years ago.
From what you're saying, you can't do the GRI online?
No, there's 8 courses you have to attend in person, and then there's 2 that you do online for the GRI.
Right.
And you can do them in any order, but you have to complete all 10 within 5 years.
Mhm.
Charlottesville used to offer a lot of those GRI classes.
They do.
That's where most of the classes I
Yeah,
took were in
between
Charlottesville.
Charlottesville, Richmond, Roanoke, Northern
Yes,
Virginia,
Richmond.
Winchester,
Jeez.
and then the 2 per year here, you can catch them all without having
We get
to
it, Greg.
go
You're not
overnight
gonna do it.
anywhere.
That's okay.
So
Do it, Greg.
you can blast through. Derek Flory in Augusta got his GRI in 4 months.
Yeah.
So you can just blast through it if you decide to.
And they are really good classes.
Mhm.
They're good courses. I've benefited from them.
Okay, so if you combine that, so those 2 can be combined for a total of a 5% bump. And then we've got a new split level in between 70 and 85. We heard a lot of comments that there was too big of a gap there. And some folks never saw themselves getting to 85, but wanted some other goal. So we will now have a new split in between there, starting at 85,000 in earnings for this first year. So, and it'll work just like the others. You go from 70 to 75 when you hit that earnings point, and then you reset back to 70 at the beginning of the next year. you can combine those two. So if you get to that 75 and you've got both of the education credits, now you're at 80. Any questions about that? Doesn't change anything at all about the other split levels. And then we added a plan that we call the legacy agent plan. I'm not exactly sure where that came from, but it just kind of came out of one meeting. But this is for the very rare folks who have got $10 million in sales for 5 years in a row.
Oh, wow.
Those folks, when we talk to them, we have 4 teams or agents that qualify for that: Harrisonburg Homes, Valley Roots, Sharon Gibson's team, and Kathy. And those folks have kind of a different set of needs. They're hiring their own staff, they're doing websites outside of what the company can provide, taking some pressure off of us and taking some extra expense onto them. So for folks that have shown that kind of consistent production, they will reset not to 70 but to 80. So if you're in that level, you're at 80 or 85 all year long. You cannot combine the education credits to get above 85 though. Sorry. Any questions about that? I think we have a couple other folks who may qualify for that over the next few years.
Really?
So is it advantageous to make a team?
Well,
I mean, how does that work compared to the individual
if you
of that team?
If you bring in your own people, you're on the exact same split schedule as an individual agent. We don't want, except for very rare cases, we don't want to allow 2 Klein May agents to team up, because then everybody would just team up and be at 85 all year long. Be a team in name only. But if you want to start a team and bring in a buyer's agent, you're going up the scale faster. You're on the exact same scale as an individual agent.
And that each individual makes more money?
Well, the team gets paid, and then how the team wants to distribute it is up to them. So if it's a situation where there's a team leader providing all the leads, they bring in somebody brand new, maybe the team's getting paid at 70 or 75 or 85, and the team is paying that new person 50 or 60, and the team leader's keeping the difference for the leads. So, but every team has their own plan. But you would hit those split points at the same level. Other questions? Okay. So, for those of you that follow the Klein May announcements page, John had a financing situation that he described there that I thought would be good for all of us to get a handle on. And Aaron's going to explain the rules. You've got a handout there that was what Aaron posted in that comment thread. That is from somebody's blog who looks like he's a pretty sharp guy, and did a nice job really summarizing what the rules are in a very logical way. John is going to tell us his real life story, and then Aaron's going to tell us about the real rules of what John ran into. So I'm going to turn the projector on.
Should I get more coffee?
So did you get more coffee? No, I think this is going to be entertaining.
Okay. I do too, actually. Since I have permission to share this guy's story, and it's a current deal, I need all of your commitments that you will not talk about this with any other realtor or individual, family friend, dog, frog, whatever.
I swear.
Raise your hand if you agree.
don't
If
swear.
you don't agree, I'm not going to give this thing. I'm serious about this. This is an
Yes.
ongoing deal, and it almost fell apart last week. So either
Aw.
agree or not agree.
I agree.
Everybody agree?
We agree.
Greg?
I won't even remember.
Don't
You're
be a
fine.
prick.
I know you got problems with me being up here.
All right. So here's what happens. I went and helped an investor look at a real estate deal, and here's this little colorful thing of it. The schizophrenic boy was living in the crawl space. There was a homeless person living in the shed out back. There was another homeless couple living in the travel trailer thing, you know, that rusts and falls apart in the county and looks like it's growing up in the garden. that was going on at this place, okay? But the house itself wasn't in that bad a condition. I didn't think. I mean, you didn't have to tear drywall out and re-insulate and extensive stuff. They needed cabinets, counters, and some other stuff, and so I said, do it, and they did it. And so they got it from an investor. And here's another little piece of this. They got it from an investor who put the house under contract at 82.75. 82, yeah,
Already I'm
82.7.
lost. Already I'm lost.
Basil.
Okay, this property, are you representing the buyer or the
Seller.
seller?
Investor seller.
So the seller owned this property, he didn't live there, it was like a rental property he had.
This property was brought to his attention by another investor to purchase. So the investor's looking at it to purchase.
Oh, so you
He
represent the
represents
buyer.
No.
He represents the current seller, not this transaction.
Yeah. My client, the investor, is looking at a property to purchase that was not listed. I just went with him and looked at it and said, yeah, buy it.
Okay,
And
Okay.
you did.
And he did for 82.7.
Yes.
Okay.
So we bought it for 82.7, but it was an assignment contract. Another investor was simply put it under contract and made $5,000 for letting another investor know about it. They call that wholesaling if you're not familiar. So his purchase price was 87.7, right? We'll find out later that that's not right, and that was one of the problems. So less than 60 days goes by, they do the rehab, they probably put $35,000 into the deal, and they got it under contract, and actually for more, an FHA buyer, for more than the asking price, with absolutely had to have the $4,500 closing costs. Okay? I looked at these guys and I said, get the deal done. I mean, one of the guys, I won't go, but I said, do it. Why, no problem. And I regret that because of what I learned. During this all you see time, the appraisal comes in at 175, and that's another whole story. I won't go into it, but it was a fight, kind of, and she came up $3,000 in the end. I was really, man, I had personal conversation with her about the market thing and all this.
So she came up to 178.
She came up to 175.
Oh, I gotcha.
Okay? So here's the stuff. This property closed, my investor bought it, unlisted property. It closed sometime in the late summer. Less than 90 days went by and it was under contract. That's where the flipping rule comes in. You cannot do that. No lender on an FHA borrower will allow them to buy the property, to put it under contract, not close, but to put it under contract in less than 90 days. So that caused a delay, and I take the blame because I didn't know, and I told my guy, jump on this, right? Okay, so that caused a delay.
Can I jump in and ask, so then what did they tell you to do?
Who?
They told you to terminate contract and wait till the 91st day?
Yep.
Okay.
So we terminated contract. Now what did that do? That put the whole deal at risk.
Right.
The guy could have gone anywhere, the seller, buyer, could have gone anywhere. So I mean, it was, could have been a mess. Things kind of moved along, it was okay. But, so within 90 days it was under contract, and then we find out later the loan officer did not alert us to that. So he wasn't aware, but he really tried. So I'm not gonna throw him under the bus. So that was the first thing. We had to wait about a month and put the property back under contract so that the lender would be willing to even look at the deal. So the contract did come back together at this. And then we had the next thing kick in with that FHA. Because the purchase price here of 87.7, actually, the purchase price here of 87.7, if you double that, it's less than that. And that caused a problem. In other words, what it caused was a second appraisal had to be done according to FHA guidelines. And the rule says if the price that my investor bought for goes up 100%, you gotta have a second appraiser. And it's all because of fraud, they got good reasons for it, but man, the people who do business, they have a proper heart and so forth, they wonder, what the heck is this about? Because it don't matter if you spend 90,000 on the house and you're only making 12, it doesn't matter to FHA. What matters is what this number said. So here's what happened too. The closing disclosure, when they purchased this property, showed this in the purchase line. It showed the assignment fee being paid to the other seller investor at $5,000. So this wasn't really the purchase price. And that's where I went to bat, and I mean big time went to bat, and I got involved with the manager of the underwriters at this particular firm. And started arguing, not that the FHA thing had to disappear and they had to bend the rules or whatever, but that this was the purchase price. Because I think like an investor, that's what they had to pay to get the house. But this is what was on the CD is the purchase price number. And so that's what they went with. Although it would have eliminated the rule had they been able to use this. I don't know if it's possible to have a purchase contract that include, just like ours do, I mean that was my argument to the underwriter, our purchase prices have embedded in them the broker's fee. One way or another, it's in there, right? That's the deal. Tell me, when it comes right down to it, that purchase price includes the broker's fee. Because it's going to be paid by the seller. They negotiate on the basis of having to pay the broker's fee.
Well,
That's the commission, in other words. That's not in this deal, but it's in every one of our deals. Bigger fees than this. So that was my argument to them, and it didn't work. So,
I love that.
so here's another little colorful part of this thing. The people that I was representing as the investor buyers and sellers, or the investor sellers, were in the process of adopting twins. And that's a long process, and it's an expensive process, and it put that adoption process near the end of it at risk of falling completely apart. Because I didn't know, and I couldn't warn, and neither did the loan officer. The underwriters, you know, we tried to get this done earlier. The underwriters didn't alert us to it, or alert the loan officer to it. I mean, it was just bad. So, our ability to represent our clients is a big deal. And that's one of the big takeaways for me personally. I have to take responsibility because I didn't know. I'm really glad for this in one sense, but boy, it was.
So this is essentially because it was an FHA. If it had been a conventional or cash deal, it wouldn't matter.
Well, yes, I mean, the short answer, yes. FHA, this is just a.
This
plan.
flip rule was for
Correct.
FHA.
Correct.
But let me ask this, because on here,
Does USDA have a similar rule?
that's the question.
Yeah.
So,
FHA's
Aaron,
guidelines.
I'm pulling up the article that you sent,
Okay, yeah.
and then
Yeah.
You know,
you can talk us
we
through it.
lack
If
a
there's
lot
anything
of
there
this.
you want to highlight, I'll just
We don't
scroll
have
to it.
classes in mortgage rules, regulations, the changing of all of those. So don't be so hard on yourself.
I'm not being hard on myself. I'm thinking like I always think. This is not being hard on myself. I don't feel like crawling under a rock. I'm just saying I didn't.
Pretty well, but seriously,
Yeah.
that's why we pull mortgage
Yep.
lenders in to help us.
The
So,
lender should have been aware of that probably, but for anybody that works with investors especially, this is incredibly important because you can get stuck.
so technically, to answer the question, USDA is kind of a weird hybrid situation. They appraise it to the FHA standards of the property, so they care about the sound, safety, and sanitary of the home, chipping paint, all that stuff. But technically, it's a conventional appraisal, and everybody goes, huh? One time I had a long conversation with the appraisal department about that. So it only looks like FHA when the appraiser is inspecting the property, but as far as rules and regulations of behind the scenes and the flipping do not apply. So USDA is fine. They're not concerned about the flipping rule. They're just concerned about making sure the home is in the shape of FHA standard.
So
So when I
John's
think of
situation wouldn't
FHA,
have
I
Correct.
think of
triggered
chickens
anything.
Would
bake.
not have. What's that?
When I think of FHA, I think of chipping paint.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and I actually learned one time when I did a lunch and learn for appraisals that technically peeling paint is like something an appraiser can mark on conventional as well, because technically like it could rot, like it could cause if something rots or whatever. I mean, they rarely do, but technically, because I was always kind of telling people, I was like, hey, if you got a conventional loan, don't worry about it. And the one time an appraiser corrected me, and I was like, I've never seen that. Okay,
Right.
fine. So, somebody's calling me there. But yes, painful. I'll give you my own experience. When I was first to originating, I used to underwrite and I processed and all that. And I was originating and I was all like nervous, the first couple of years, it was like the first year, and I totally missed the flipping thing. And the same thing happened. It was less than 90 days and we had to terminate contract. At that point, we only had to wait it was like a 2-week difference, which was fine. So it was like, okay, we waited 2 weeks, 91st day, wrote the new contract. And in that case, we were fine. We didn't exceed the value. So we did not require a second appraisal. But yeah, here's what you can do. I mean, it really, to Cheryl's point, is so difficult. How much are you supposed to know of mortgage?
Right.
How much am I supposed to know of real estate? I don't try to explain the real estate contract. I mean, that's just, So I say the only thing you can do is experience. I mean, it was just like for me, when I pre-approve a client and they're doing FHA, I have this rule for all my clients. I don't write a pre-approval letter till I know the property you're going to look at, because then I'll go look and see, okay, what do I have them qualified for? What house are you going to go look at? Okay, and I just kind of try to do some quick look at it. If it looks like it's been recently renovated, I'll dig a little bit more. I'll ask the listing agent, like, hey, can you tell me who the owner of record is? Because sometimes it's not updated online yet. When did they just buy it? I mean, really, that's it. So, I mean, I don't blame the loan officer. I don't, because, who knows? They really know to look at that.
So,
Yeah.
if I sell a property worth $80,000 to a flipper, and he plans to put $20,000 to $30,000, $40,000 into it, okay, and we sell it for more than 160, that doesn't work.
So I didn't follow your math, but are you just saying like if it's more than 100, like in John's case,
Right.
like if you bought it
More
for
than
8,
100%.
80 and 80 is 160.
right?
So if it's more than that,
More than that, then you have to get, you're fine.
in 3 months,
I'm sorry.
You need a second appraisal.
Yeah, you need a second appraisal if you exceed the purchase price plus repairs of 100%. Or I'm
Say
sorry,
that
the
again?
purchase price. So you buy it at 80,000 and you resell it for 160, then I think you're fine. It has to be the 60.
160 and up.
160 and up. So if it was 159.9.
so I got one of those. I didn't even realize it.
Okay, when did your guy buy?
I'll have to check that.
Okay.
But it's been recent. It was this summer. He fixed it up and put it on the market with me. I think we're pretty close to being over 90 days.
Yeah, I was gonna say you're probably.
So what's the
Probably.
That's
second
only
time
one rule.
period here? The 91 to 180. What rules apply
Yeah,
there?
that one.
Fine line kind of a thing.
Yeah, I was gonna say I had to reread it because I mean I've only ever ran into this one time and it was way in the beginning. So I was like I gotta refresh myself on those. But the second the example 100%, it says to me if the property is cleared the 90 days, but falls within 91 to 180. This period allows to sell the property for FHA financing, but there's a possible second appraisal requirement. So for me, it read the exact same way.
Yeah.
Like there was no difference.
Right. So I don't.
And so I had tried to call underwriting this morning just to clarify and say, am I reading this right? Because it does not I don't understand why we're designating the different time periods, because it reads the same. So I apologize, guys. I read it that it's just the same. I don't see any difference.
So it's not that you can't sell it for over double, but you have to have it reappraised.
You just have to.
You have to have it appraised twice.
You have to have
So
appraised twice.
180 days?
And if
Yeah, 181. If you do 181, then I guess you're
No.
fine.
When does the
I didn't
day
think the
start
time
ticking?
date.
The day they own it? The day they settle?
Yeah, the current.
Yeah,
So
the seller's the date of reporting.
Yeah, it says date of reporting.
And
Yeah.
on that second appraisal, if the second appraisal comes in less than 5, or so that the value is less than, is 5% or more under, then they have to take the lower appraisal.
Oh, yeah, so the two come in, and when two come in, then it goes off of the lower
If it's 5%.
percent. So if the value is 5%, it comes in less. The second appraisal is 5% less. But what if it isn't 5% less?
They don't have to take the lower.
They don't have to take the lower, the two difference, so 5% or greater. And then it even goes on to say that technically up to 365 days, the real estate price is 5% or greater than the lowest sale price of the property 12 months. This is rare, but could happen, yeah. I've never ran into that.
Okay, so let me throw a little
Yeah.
something in here. For an investor, let's say they have, in their mind, they have a reserve price. They go under contract, they don't wanna sell it for, for a certain amount, but they go under contract, it does not appraise for that amount. Carl, could we, in writing the contract, if I represent the seller investor, could we throw a clause into the contract saying if it does not appraise for our purchase price, the seller investor may choose to avoid the contract? Could they do that? So that the investor's not put in a position of getting an appraisal in and it appraises for 130 when the property's under contract for 160.
Why would it appraise that much lower in the second appraisal? What's just an accident by the.
Yeah, I don't know
Because
that
we're
you'd really
dependent on
need that,
appraisals.
because if you were in that situation, you would just not agree to make any changes and the deal would fall apart. They'd come back and say, well, we got this low appraisal, so either you're gonna have to drop your price or the deal's over, and if you want the deal
But
to
I
be over.
represent the investor. I sell him the case.
Right, but the deal's
So-
over anyway. So
Are you saying you're trying to
If you're
not be
not
forced into taking a lower price?
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Right. Yes.
I mean, you really nailed it. I mean, that's just the $5,000 fee. That was an interesting argument. I mean, I see where your point's coming from, but they're just looking at it on that. Was it an actual CD or was it like an old Alta HUD? Did it look like an old HUD?
I don't remember.
Okay.
Now, what was the
I got-
$5,000? Talk about that a little bit. I don't.
That was kind of
Is
like,
that-
I would say the cost of doing business is kind of what that was, but the
Basically a referral fee.
yeah, but the base purchase price, to John's point, when you guys sell houses, the commission's a part of that purchase price. In his deal, they itemized it out and made it so like he couldn't. That underwriter was just not going to take that. They would have
And
considered that
FHA.
total acquisition cost, but not base price.
I thought we couldn't do that in residential real estate.
Oh, I don't know. I mean,
In other words,
that,
It wasn't a licensee transaction when they bought it.
it was when
It wasn't a listed property or whatever. It was one investor who had a contract on the property, and for assigning it to somebody else, to assigning that contract, that investor captured $5,000. Man, to anybody who sees a $30,000 profit at the end, pay the $5,000, no problem, right?
So how much did the original investor have it under contract for?
The original investor had under contract for $82,700. And
But
they
he
and-
assigned a contract to the second investor
Right,
for
Who-
$5,000.
right.
Okay.
right. So basically for $5,000 added that they get for their time and effort to find the deal.
which actually
Yep.
is more than 5% of 82.7, so you got a good deal for that assignment of contract.
They work hard.
and then just to clarify, so it just hit me. I'm
We-
sorry,
we
I didn't
know
drink
it,
all my
of
coffee
course.
yet. So the point is this: is that from 0 to 90, it's no option. So I kept saying it was the same, and I was wrong. It's from 0 to 90 is zero
Change it up.
option to do an FHA contract. It's once it goes into the 91 to 80, it's really just
Okay.
it's the two parts to that rule. 0 through 90 is nothing. 91 to 80, the second appraisal, if you fall into your thing. And they'll know that because they require me to. They require you to get the sale of the HUD, and you have to show that stuff. Yeah. So then they do it. So really, that's it. So in your case, you experienced both parts of the rule.
Both parts.
Yeah.
Yeah, you experienced that. So good job, John.
Talking all about changing that? I mean, that was all, I'm sure, in response to 15 years ago, but
we were talking about that. I was like, I've known that rule ever since the beginning of time. I've never, and I just don't, I don't know if that goes back to some other housing crisis back in some other time period.
But yeah, I mean, you can see, I mean, they're trying to protect people who are in a position of getting FHA loans
Yes.
from being ripped off by
Yeah,
an investor.
yeah, totally. And I guess it's
Well,
just a,
But the fact that they
Kinda.
don't consider the money the investor put into the house
So,
is nuts, just nuts.
yeah, yeah.
now, I think it's more than that, because they're gonna get an appraisal. So there's protection there for the buyer, right? They're gonna get an appraisal. The real purpose for this stuff is collusion between appraiser, loan officer, and realtor. If they
Right.
collude together,
That's what was happening in 2006
right?
and
So
7.
and something like that, they talked about straw buyers.
Yeah, yeah.
I think that, I'm just assuming, what that means is somebody comes along with, say, a false identity, makes a big purchase on good credit and false information, and then, is able to sell it and walk away. I mean, if there's an incentive to sell it fast and walk away from the deal, maybe
It
maybe
slows
they've
it
seen
down.
some of that.
It slows down the possibility of fraud.
Exactly.
Of
Well,
taking-
and a
That's
straw
right.
buyer is a fake buyer who
Yeah.
comes in just to run up the price
Yeah.
for the real buyer. He's
Oh,
in
really?
cahoots with the seller.
Yeah,
So,
it's,
okay, I didn't know.
They
yeah,
make
same
it
thing
look
with,
like it's
with
competitive,
firearms.
but he has no intention of buying, he's just trying to run the price up.
All right, got you.
Cause it's the same thing with firearms, because you can't do a straw purchase, so like, if you're a felon, or you're not allowed to buy a firearm for whatever reason.
That's a good one.
It's a hate call, we get a gun for mine.
All right, let's-
I'm a straw purchaser, because I'm buying it,
Hang on.
it's not for my own benefit.
Michael.
John, was the only reason that you're really kicking yourself is because you had other offers that did not require FHA? Is that what it just came down
No,
to?
the reason I mean, it's like a lawyer who screws up totally and costs you a lot of money, right?
Well, the
That's-
time was what the.
Representation matters. The timing of the deal really slowed down and almost ruined. I had to write a letter to the adoption agency to emphasize how this thing was as sure as you could possibly imagine in any real estate transaction. Should have closed like a month ago, and he would have had all the money he needed to finalize the last payment and the, and so it matters. What we know and how we advise and so forth really matters. In some cases, it don't matter. FSBO, they can do their thing and they sail through sometimes. Sometimes it really matters. And that's where the value, our value comes in. That's a big takeaway too,
Yep.
How do you feel?
I can't, over the years, I've been doing this 13 or 14 years now. There's 15 times or 20 times where the deal closes 30, 45 days late. I mean, I don't know why you should beat yourself up.
I'm not beating myself. I talk to myself this way.
Well,
You
how
guys,
about the lender,
you guys think.
the lender should have known this.
The lender should have
so
known.
much more than, I
Yeah.
think, don't
I
you?
agree.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yes, yeah, I would think so. I don't think it's something that a realtor should know just as a matter of course, because it's a really weird thing. I think it's great to have this discussion so we all will know it if we run into it. But yeah,
Yeah, but
It
if
takes a
that's,
village.
if that's all you do is work with investors, yeah, you should know it.
you may have run into
Investment
it, right?
Situation comes up once every 15 deals, how you I can't remember
Look,
what I
any
did last.
FHA purchase could come up with some stuff like this.
Yeah,
I
you're
mean,
right. You're right.
I mean, it's just
Yeah,
helpful.
if
It's
you're
not
working
like
with
you
the
need to have a PhD in financing, but I mean, learning stuff that we can be valuable to the people we represent is just it's a big deal. It's a very
It
big
kind of
deal.
falls under the hat of like, just when you're gonna go take a buyer and they are pre-approved FHA, just like know not to take them to like fixer uppers. It kind of falls into that.
Yeah.
But I
Just
get
kind of
it.
next level.
Yeah, it's just
I've always questioned how much a bargain an FHA loan is for somebody,
it's
for
not.
both
It's not.
parties.
No.
It's not.
No, not at all.
It's a means
But
to
it's
an end.
it's done
Right.
because they take lower credit scores. There's all
You're exactly
trade-offs.
right. Yeah.
It's trade-offs. It enables them to buy it at a greater risk because the lender's willing, because the government's backing them up if it fails. I mean, that's
Well, and then also, really, those buyers are looking at these types of homes
Mhm,
because they're
That's the
affordable.
challenge. Yeah.
that price range,
Right.
a lot of times, right?
Right, that,
Yeah.
that have
Which
issues.
falls into that
Right.
home, type of home.
Right,
Right.
right, yep, yep.
No.
Good discussion.
Thanks for
Thanks.
sharing.
Yeah.
Oh,
All right,
thank
one
you.
more thing I'm
Yeah.
gonna run by you.
Yeah, I think those are great experiences to share.
I love to see this kind of stuff, kind of periodically, because we
Me
learn
too.
from the, mistakes or
agree.
experiences. I think
Right.
it's great.
Right.
Paul, throw it back your hat.
So the other article you have there has to do with new construction. Last week we talked about the fact that this new study came out with a bunch of data from Redfin that showed people are staying in their houses way longer than what they used to, which is having a big impact on our inventory. This is the other side of what's having a big impact on our inventory. And this is just an article from the Virginia Realtors economist, Lisa Sturtevant. And it's nothing that we really is a big surprise to us, but this is something we have to be able to explain to our clients when they say, why aren't there any houses for sale? Why can't we find something? So nationally, new construction's on the rise, and we hear that somewhat, but here's part of the problem. And it's especially relevant here when we see, if you look at building permits in the city of Harrisonburg, for example, it's gonna look like there are a whole bunch of them. But the vast majority are multifamily student housing. They're not single-family housing. So you can't just look at permits. Here in Virginia, she notes that single-family homes make up 67% of new housing permits, 2/3. In the early 2000s, that was 80%. So single-family construction has really slowed down while our population keeps increasing. And you can see the difference. I mean, talking about 60,000 units in the peak, when everybody was building and everybody was flipping houses every 2 years, down to 20,000 when we crashed. Now we're back up in the 30s, 32,000 and something last year in Virginia, but the Realtor Association estimates there will be 40,000 new household formations. So if you have 40,000 new household formations, but 32,000 new houses, that leaves a shortage.
Yeah, but there's an undercurrent here that we talked about last week, and that is that this boomer thing where people are starting to sell, this wave is starting to, where they're selling their houses or moving in with family or to nursing homes or assisted living and this and that, is gonna bring, and it's already starting to be in the news. I'm starting to see it in news articles every day now, that this is happening.
Sure.
That works against this.
Sure, but it's happening much later in life, which is the problem. People are staying in their houses, into their 80s, where they used to go and move in with family or some kind of assisted place 10 or 15 years
But that's
earlier.
what's causing the problem.
Yes. Yep. Yep, you're right. So there are a few things. Land is expensive. Right before the boom in the early 2000s here, there were several opportunities for builders to buy individual lots. There were subdivisions east of town where people had rezoned a farm, put in the infrastructure, cut up the lots, and builders could go into Barrington or Lakewood or Highland Park and buy 2 lots and do a spec house. And when that went under contract, they would start the next one and just kind of keep that thing rolling. And that really doesn't exist anymore. I mean, there were hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of lots, and so they were not expensive. You could get a lot in Barrington for $35,000 with your utilities right there at the street. So that's part of it. Material costs, tariffs have affected that. Lumber's up 25%. Drywall is up. I'm not exactly sure why. A shortage in construction workers, which goes back to 10 years ago when the market crashed. A lot of folks who were in the trades found another line of work, and they haven't come back. Tell any young people in your life to learn a trade. They can pretty much write their own ticket. State and local regulations. If you talk to builders, that's the number one expense or impediment to them competing with resales price-wise is especially the stormwater runoff fees and the expense they have to go to for that. And then community opposition to new housing developments which always happens. So her point here is, we can't do much about a lot of that. What we can do is talk to our local decision makers and get involved when they do things like comprehensive plan updates or rezoning, looking at the zoning code like Rockingham County is doing, Harrisonburg just got done doing, and let them know some of these numbers and let them know what you see out there trying to find houses for people. I don't see any major change. Like we said last week, I think this is our new normal. We're gonna have 2 months supply of houses, and there's gonna be a lot more pressure on buyers to be prepared and to move quickly and decisively. So, anybody work with builders that have any other comments on this? We're gonna skip that. That's just a short. So our local news, our senior Santas, you guys did a fantastic job. We took care of all 50 of our Santas. All gifts have been turned in. And I really appreciate it. That is an incredible effort and an incredible project as far as the association goes. All 200 of the tags were spoken for. So that's a huge impact on those folks. There are still some slots to sign up for Salvation Army bell ringing, which is next week. There's a link in the HRAR newsletter you can click on and just go to a real simple schedule and pick your time spot.
What day of the week, Greg?
I think it's the 5th.
You'd have to ask Kurt.
I think it's the 5th.
I just show up when Kurt tells
Where
me.
do
It
you
is-
do it at? What location?
Walmart
Oh.
over here. And it is
Pick
shady
an
early in the day. If you go late after or early afternoon, you might be able to get a little sunshine on there
Yeah.
for us, but it's cold in the morning. And then the HRAR holiday reception just over here at the office, that same day, December 5th from 4 to 6. Food, drinks, always well attended, fun little party. Any listings? Nobody sent me anything. All right, have a great day.
Happy Thanksgiving!
Yeah. I guess everybody else is
Yeah.
at Martin's getting the last can of cranberry sauce.
I know.
Katie, you were very quiet this morning.
Get you what?
Patient.
The new construction?
Yeah, the whole thing you just had about what we just talked about.
Sure.
Okay, because the call was a lieutenant commander. Said he was looking for stuff and
Well, what's
the
your elbow
realtors
doing
weren't
in
really
the toilet,
helping. They
woman?
said there's nothing out
chair
there.
was
And I
over
said to him, this is a couple
little
weeks ago,
bit.
about
Well,
3
why
months
was
ago.
your
And I
chair
said,
over a little bit?
That's
There's
where
been
Charlotte
some
is.
things are going very fast. Okay, it's one of those kind of ones, and I explained the whole thing, but then I said to my client, wow, these are spot on, this is what we're looking at. And he's all over the map, he doesn't know what he wants, but that's what we deal with all the time, right?
Right.
So, he's coming in to teach JMU, he's got 4 kids, you know, all this kind of stuff. I got all the information, and I'm starting to send him possibles. He calls looking for a realtor. So, I says to him,
I didn't talk to her.
and he's saying, you know, I'm moving into Harris, and he's doing the same introductory thing, and I said, well, Graham, this is Greg, all right? Did you fire me, or what are we doing? He goes, well, I haven't heard from you in a couple of weeks. I go, well, I sent things to you, and I haven't heard anything. So, I mean, I don't know. He goes, well, every house I look at is gone in 15 days. And I said, well, as I said to you, that's been the problem all year. He says, this is going to be perfect for me to send them, because I just got fired. And he says, well, I think I'm going to need somebody else then. I said, well, last I heard from you was that Neil Skinner was the one that you wanted to take a look at. I emailed you a couple times saying, when are you going to be back in town? When we talked to Neil Skinner, you said, and I was already booked, you'll be in town tomorrow. Well, I'm booked. I couldn't, you know, I
Right.
got other appointments, right? I'm not sitting here waiting for you, you know? I said, you know, but he goes, well, I gotta find a good school district. That's one of the reasons. I said, well, I sent you those links to look at school districts. That's not my place to pick a school district, because I don't know the whole workings of your family.
Right.
What may or may not work. And he goes, well, I really need a good school district. I go, that's why I sent you those links. You gotta do that research. Then you tell me, I work for you, you gotta give me direction on where you want me to go. Otherwise, I'm showing you every house and every piece of land, and in the last 25 miles, ain't gonna help you.
Basically everyone.
You know, so I need you to give me that information. I know things like what school districts are looking at splitting and things of that nature, but, I need a little direction. Well, you know, I can't stay on the phone, he just hung up on me, you know? So, he emailed me and kinda apologized for, and I didn't even get to read it, I just see what comes across the computer corner. So this would be perfect to say, this is why, you know, if you're moving here in May, and you're asking me, and you're going, well, Greg, I'm gonna be here Friday. Oh yeah, let's pick the day after Thanksgiving. You know, and he goes, and I want you to show me 4 houses. I said, well,